Hey everybody, it's Buddy Ray, and this is the first edition of Slinging Dirt TV. Most of you know me from Joe's Karting. I'm the former co-host of the Front Stretch on AM 590 Omaha's ESPN Radio. Well, now we've gone from radio to YouTube, and over here to my right is Sport Compact. Well, it used to be Sport Compact. Used to be JP3 Jack Prawl III, or whatever we call you, but now he drives a sport-minded Eagle, B-modded I-80. And Jack, thanks for becoming my new host.
Awesome. I'm happy.
You know, this is the first show, and it's in the morning. We're a little tired. But you know, the Slinging Dirt TV, let's get right into it. The Slinging Dirt TV, it's going to be all dirt track racing. We don't want to be a super serious show, but I mean, we're going to be interviewing drivers, promoters, stuff like that. We're going to do some tours of some of the race tracks. But at the same time, we want this to be a fun show. It's not going to be a negative show. And we're hoping to be on air all the way through the end of October. You got anything to add?
Well, I know that we've already been out and done some shots and some interviews and stuff, and we're going to have some really cool stuff coming up. We've got a rollover machine that we brought in that they spun me around and landed me on my head and then pulled me out. And then we've got some other things that are going to happen, if you want to elaborate on some of that stuff. Yeah, so to touch on what Jack here had said, we have a rollover simulator. One thing I've noticed is they've had this simulator at tracks and various trade shows, and a lot of you out there may not have had the chance to get into one, so we put Jack here in one, and we rolled him quite a few times, and I think you learned a lot. In this episode, we also are going to be talking to the driver of the 03 Army Sprint car out of Eagle Raceway, Shaylee Bate, and you'll get to see Smokey, and we'll introduce you to Black Betty, but you'll have to stay tuned and watch the clip on that one. So with further ado, what do you think? Well, I think that we should get this show rocking and rolling. Let's do it.
All right, with that being said, we're going to talk about this with the video of Shaylee down in Lincoln. If you have a driver, a promoter, anything like that that you want us to interview, go talk to, by all means, email me at buddyj, B-U-D-D-Y, letter J, at joeskarting.com. Of course, it's karting with a K. And then also, one thing that Jack and I thought would be really cool is we have a lot of fans out there. Well, okay, not us, but dirt track racing.
I have 3.
Well, I have 4. So a lot of drivers out there have fans that want to ask questions. Well, we want to use the show here, the Slinging Dirt TV, as a platform for you fans to interact with us or the drivers. So if you want, email me at work at buddyj@joeskarting.com. Email me a question, and we're going to have a fan of the week. So every week somebody can email me, send me a question. The only thing is that we do want to give you credit for your question, so send me a headshot. We want to know who you are, where you go, what you like to do, you know, and ideally send us a question that, you know, Jack and I can elaborate on. So one thing I will tell you here on the first show is we don't want to use this show as a negative experience for dirt track racing.
No,
we want to have this as, you know, to be as fun and interactive as possible. So with that being said, let's get into the rollover simulator. You know, we have a lot of safety issues at the track. A lot of drivers will go on their lid, unfortunately, during the race season. And from a driver standpoint, I know you learned a lot being in it.
I learned a ton. I mean,
you learned a ton.
Just things you never think about. It opened my eyes.
Oh yeah. So we're going to put Jack in the rollover simulator. We're going to be doing this up at Roger Hayden's shop, Auto Transmatic in Bennington, Nebraska. I want to thank for everybody that showed up there. So tell you what, let's get to it, and we'll show you what we're doing.
We're here at Auto Transmatic in Bennington, Nebraska with Kurt Bonner and Joni Maven. And we're going to be testing the rollover machine to give you some do's and don'ts of what to do if you're in an accident. Tell the folks where you're from.
I'm from Corning, Iowa, Bath County Speedway.
Kurt?
And I'm run at Eagle Raceway, run the tow crew out there.
Unfortunately, Kurt and I are pretty good friends. I spend a lot of time on the hook of his truck, but we're going to get busy. So go ahead and tell us what we're going to be doing today.
Well, we're going to put you in the car today. We're going to simulate a rollover and how to extricate you from the vehicle while you're upside down. You'll have to pull up the steering wheel, turn your switches off. Normal day of rolling over.
A normal day of rolling over. That doesn't sound good to me, but let's do it.
What we're going to do is we're going to raise you up in the car, okay, the simulator. We're going to rotate you upside down. Okay. We're going to bring you down onto your roof, and then we're going to extricate you out to the store here while you're upside down.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
You okay, driver?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, pull your steering wheel off now. Throw it out the other side. Turn switches all off.
Switches are off.
Okay, now what we need you to do, hold up. Can you hold yourself up?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna release you.
Okay.
Now come slowly down, turn your left shoulder out to me. You're gonna come out head first. There we go.
Okay.
At this point, the EMTs will check him out while he still has his helmet on, neck brace on. All we gotta do is make sure the car isn't gonna catch on fire and get him away from the vehicle.
How's the car?
Totaled.
Just like the normal driver, right?
Okay, we just had a rollover. Driver's unconscious. He is wearing full containment seat. Window nets up. Come to the driver. Driver, you okay? Now get no response. We're gonna drop his window net. Give him a sternum rub. See if I can get him up. Nope. Driver. Nope. So now at this point, we're gonna take off the side piece. Here's where we cut the bars. Dog line, we'll cut the bars here, here, and here. And we'll cut it here, here, and here. And we'll cut the cage around the seat. Okay. We'll take the steering wheel off. Yeah, we gotta take his belts off.
Oh.
He's got the belts too tight for us to get through them. Normally what we do is cut the belts.
Right.
We're not going to cut these belts, brand new. But we take the seat out and bring the driver out this way so the EMTs could get to him.
And that's if it's a containment seat.
Containment seat.
If it's
I
not a
like tater
containment seat,
tots.
Well, even on some drivers, if they're unconscious, we'll still take them out this way.
okay.
Have you seen guys with containment seats actually bolting the seats up or mounting the seats different than a standard layback seat?
Not really. Not that I've seen. Not that I've noticed.
Would it actually be helpful for you guys if guys were to try to say, okay, maybe, you know, this is an idea, but like a shock pin insert. So if this was to happen, you can pull pinch, you can slide the whole seat out.
That'd be okay, but then you have to worry about that pin coming loose.
Right.
And then you got a driver just bouncing around in the car.
Well, Jack does enough of that at Eagle, so.
No, but having pins in there, it's got a good advantage, but it's got real bad disadvantage.
Right. I didn't know if guys with containment seats are bolting them up a little bit different,
No, they're
or
bolting-
if they're making a mechanism. Because I mean, when you go in there, you've got the car cut to where the seat can come out. But how does the seat come out? Or are you just sliding the driver out of the seat and through the
No, we're
side?
going to take the whole seat. We're going to cut the where they got them mounted to the roll cage like they're supposed to be. We're cutting on both sides of that seat and behind it, cutting it and bringing the whole.
So you'll use like a typical
of
saws
life.
off or jaws of life, and then you'll cut the seat out,
Yep.
and they all come. Driver and seat comes out as one piece.
Yep, driver's
Okay.
seat and the bars.
All right, so now we've been through the simulator. JP3's got his noggin kind of knocked around in his head, and you know, we found out he liked tater tots through the shooting of that. Now what we're going to do, I got my car laid out here, we got my trailer laid out here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a mock pit stall here. The reason why we wanted to do this is we always talk about the wrecks, the spills, beat on your lid, and all this stuff that happens out on the track, but What about the stuff that happens in the pits? We have a lot of burns, a lot of cuts, scrapes, stuff like that. I've got, once again, Kurt Bonner from Eagle Raceway, Jody Mabin from Adams County Speedway. This is some serious stuff, and I was telling you, and I think I was telling both of you, for every one spill we have on the track, there's probably 3 injuries in the pits, but nobody ever talks about them because it's not in the limelight. Well, we're going to bring some of that to the limelight. So, Kurt, Jody, we got a little test for you viewers out there. Right here, we've got a G-Force helmet, we got a Simpson helmet, and what's your helmet?
I'm not telling, it's top secret.
Okay, so we have JP3's top secret whatever helmet. With that being said, can the viewers tell us which helmet is illegal? One of these 3 is illegal. Which one is it? They all have tear-offs. They all look nice. Which helmet is it? Well, Kurt, Jody. Jody, why don't you tell us which helmet, because you actually tested this.
Well, in my class, we're not illegal in the Hornet. With this, as far as racing, hobby stocks, B mod, A mod, late models, this is the illegal helmet.
Why is this illegal?
It's a motorcycle helmet.
On Jack's helmet, we have an SA 2010. This is a fireproof helmet. This means if the car catches on fire, which God forbid we don't want anybody to catch on fire, this is going to be a safety device. This is not DOT rated. This is actually made specifically for our sport. Jody, on yours?
Well, it's stamped for the motorcycle, and it has no fire rating, and it's basically just for head impact.
What it's going to happen is somebody tries to cheat safety and they use this in a car, God forbid they catch on fire.
They're not going to like it. They're going to have some very bad head burns, and it's going to be a few seconds within it takes.
He went to a track. He wanted to see if he could sneak it through tech. It went through tech. They looked at it. They said, oh, it's a G-Force. Well, he's fine. Problem is, he's not fine. He was trying to cheat safety, and what you were saying before we started shooting was, you don't ever want to cheat safety.
No, you can bend or break every rule out there when it comes to racing, except a safety rule. Those are there to save your life.
The one thing I do want to say, now everybody knows I'm kind of cheap, but on my Simpson Voyager helmet here, on my helmet, in fact, it's a good thing you showed me this, Jody, because I forgot about it. On Jack's helmet and some of the newer helmets, you'll actually have the SA 2010 sticker right beside there. But on some of these older helmets, and maybe even some of the newer ones, when you look at my helmet, it's all black in there. You can't see nothing. Pull the top down, and right there on the shell outer casing, you can't really see it, but there is a sticker right there, and it'll actually have that fireproof rating. So when you're looking at buying used helmets, used safety equipment, whatnot, make sure that it is fireproof. With the helmets, when you are buying a used helmet, a buddy of mine bought one, and man, you guys chime in on this. Make sure there's no major cracks, dents, scrapes, whatnot. You get a crack in a helmet, it's no good, point blank.
No,
I wouldn't buy a used helmet. I wouldn't buy used seatbelts.
Nope.
If you buy a used helmet, think about this. Would you buy a used head and put it on your shoulders? That's a whole lot of trouble that would take on a whole new show. So if you're going to buy a used helmet, you might as well just buy a used head and deal with the issues in that head. Just buy a new helmet. You know what you got. You know it's good. So I tell you what, let's go through my pit stall. Let's see what you guys can doink me on. How about it?
A lot of guys that keep and reuse the same hoses year after year. They start to wear and tear right around these parts. And you don't believe how many drivers don't even bother fixing that.
I've actually seen a lot of times, right here I've got a little bubbling, but that's because of the way the fitting is right here. The one thing I would tell a lot of the drivers from a standpoint, use good quality fittings. Don't go to the local Ace Hardware store and use the cheap fittings. I mean, you're talking some race fuel, some alcohol. It's corrosive. This is made for our sport. Use good quality lines. Even back here, I see a little bit of it. See, like right there. That's not always a good thing.
No.
We should take a look at that.
Something else I do like. I like you having the chain
With the cap.
with the cap.
And it's no spill cap.
How many times do you guys see fuel caps coming off the race cars at the track and
A lot.
fuel spraying everywhere?
A lot.
And that gets DQ'd whether you're leader or tail. Doesn't matter.
Right.
We've actually been there, done that, and this was my idea to go ahead and put the chain right here. I wanted something that had some strength behind it. It's not the lightest gauge chain that you can buy, but that means I can't lose this right here. The one thing that irritates me is, like you said, whether you're the leader or not, you can get DQ'd for losing a cap and spraying fuel, but if you're spraying fuel and you got a car behind you with hot exhaust, you're going right into a firebomb.
That's right.
You don't want that either.
Right.
That's why there are very few black flag issues that will get the race stopped. Fuel leaking is one of those. You know, if you got a flat tire, you're getting black flagged, they're not going to stop the race to get you off the track usually. Okay? You're leaking fuel, it will stop the race, and you will be off the track.
Right.
I've actually, unfortunately, been leading the race quite a few times and gotten black flagged for that.
You've led a race. One thing I like to look at on mods, I want to make sure your bumper's good. This one actually, buddy, if you need to be pushed by a push truck, you're going to be replacing your whole tail.
Yeah, we got to replace that.
Yeah. On a hobby stock or a tuner, what we like to see on both ends is a chain, and this is illegal. I don't know that it's every track, but a chain on there that we can pick the car up with, that's strong enough that we don't break. That way we don't have to hunt for a place to find a place to hook to. If you don't have a chain, we may get J hooks out and just throw them under there and hope they catch.
You know, on my winch strap right here, you know, now I wouldn't recommend using this on the track, but even on a mod, are you guys okay just putting a small chain right there so if you're on the hook,
You can. On a mod, it doesn't matter. We're going to use the bumper.
Right. You're going to use the bumper regardless.
9 times out of 10. If the bumper's not there, or if it's bent bad enough that we're not sure it's going to hold, we may come to part of the frame and come around the bumper to try and keep our cable away from your tail pins.
Okay.
Okay. But on a hobby or anything that doesn't have a bumper like this, hobbies, late model, front, it'd be nice if there was something up front that we could just hook to. I've seen late models that had the bar come out through the front bumper. That would be great.
The front nose.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I am telling you right now, you're going to have to replace that or fix it, or you're going to be replacing this stuff.
And yours is 12? You need new ones.
Yep. There you go.
You need new belts in here. And another thing I check for any tears, rips, because you got to change them. You will not race with a ripped belt at our track. And I check all of them. Seats, make sure they're good, fastened in tight. That one's been good.
One thing I do want to mention.
Pads.
Pads. Where do you like to see the pads?
Anywhere your head could possibly hit.
Yep.
I want them here, I want them here, and I do want them up here. Because I've seen drivers reach up with their hand and just split them wide open.
Yep.
So if you have a pad there, you're going to hit a pad, you ain't going to split your hand open. You got a bar here with a weld. Take these little tags, you're going to have them on here, zip ties, put them on the inside. So there's no place you can get your hands cut, because face, eyes, everything's possible to get a hold of. A lot of things we check for is the same fuel line, but up here too. Drivers don't check right here where the goes to the pump and up to the pump. Braided line's probably the best line I like, because they don't seem to tear as bad as these will. Because you get rocks that fly off the track, parts that fly up, they'll cut these lines. And a lot of drivers don't pay attention to that.
Have you ever seen drivers on the fuel pumps? We'll have little pee holes here, and when the fuel pump goes bad, it'll leak fuel out here. Have you ever seen drivers try to cheat and use the fuel pumps that are leaking fuel?
Not at our track, we have not seen that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about different hazards in the pits, trip hazards, things like that. When we were walking around the car, I noticed 2 guys catch the cable here and almost fall on their face. You're set up, ready to go. That ought to be put away. Tools, when you're done using them, ought to be put away. You need to have them, I understand that, but when you're done with them, they don't need to be laying there on the door.
I've seen a lot of pit stalls, winch cables are pulled all the way out. A lot of the mods, late models, we winch off the back end. But when you trip over this and you're walking this way, well, guess what's right here?
That's right.
You catch your neck on that, it is not going to be, it's not going to be fun. The one thing that we have done, and we don't have it now, we just got our trailer, but the one thing that we do on this cable right here, we actually put foam up
The
here.
swimming noodles.
So we'll put the swimming noodles, and we usually try to put a pretty bright one up there. So when people come up to the pits, because if you're in a hurry and it's at night, you don't always see this dull gray cable.
That's right. And a lot of people come around the back of the trailer and step right onto the door. Well, they hang themselves with the cable.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty gnarly cuts with that.
Well, there's it. You know, nice little ladder stuck up there. No way of strapping it down. I'm gonna climb up there. See ya. Coming backwards.
On ours, now when I got the trailer on ours, for example, we have these 2 bolts right here. These correspond with bolts up here. We pull a bolt right there. Now it can't come off the trailer, it's sturdy. So that way there's none of a trip hazard. Now we have it like this for the video that, you know, for the safety video we want to show you guys. But normally there'd be bolts up there. What's this gonna do for a car? You know, we do have fuel, we have race cars, we have alcohol, we have methanol, we have race gas, we have normal pump gas, we have all kinds of fuels.
It won't do a thing for a fuel fire.
What can actually make it worse?
Worse, yeah, it'll make it spread.
Make it spread. So, you know, if we need another extinguisher, what kind of extinguisher do you recommend that we
An
have?
ABC or a foam.
ABC or a foam.
And I prefer foam over the ABC.
Why is that?
It's less, like your aluminum blocks and stuff, it's less, we say rash on them, don't hurt them as bad. The foam can spray it off the water once it fires out,
Okay.
and it's,
You don't have the residue left.
right. And then even into the carburetors, so basically you can fire them right back up.
So, bottom line, you get a fire extinguisher. Have it in the pit stall with you at all times.
And they're cheap, they're around $125 for a brand new one. For a
You know,
foam.
what size fire extinguisher? Are we talking a small one, a big one?
Like a foam one, these size right here is $125 brand new.
And you can get them refilled, can't you?
Yeah, you can refill them yourself.
You refill them yourselves, and then it's a whole lot cheaper.
Right.
And you know, in the long run, it's just going to be a wise investment, safety-wise.
Right. I mean, you can use it for a lot of things.
Right.
And while we're talking about fire extinguishers, buddy, where's your first aid kit?
My first aid kit's way right there with the hydrogen peroxide.
How many times have you seen guys get cuts or scrapes or even burns that aren't really bad enough to involve the fire and safety crew, but if you had a Band-Aid or something, you wouldn't be dripping blood all over?
Well, the reason why we
So-
have this, back when my dad was alive, he was old. He had really, I guess, brittle skin, really weak skin, and he would always cut himself on the arms. And you know, Jack has seen it where my dad used to bleed down the arms. You know, Dad didn't want to go bother the rescue squad because it'd be at that moment that he's at the rescue squad, there would be a
There's a
flip
call.
over. There's a call on the track. So my wife, Rachel, went out and got the first aid kit. She bought the peroxide. We usually have a big bottle of ibuprofen. You know, we are around exhaust gases, stuff like that. In that, we've done, you know, we've gotten into this thing a lot. In fact, I can tell you that there was a whole lot more to it than this. And we actually need to refill it this year before the 2015 season takes off. And I think Rachel and I have talked. We're actually going to get a lot bigger one to cover a lot more. But once again, we're getting our trailer situated. But yeah, it's up in here. And a lot of times we'll actually put it at the end of the trailer because you never know at a moment's notice when you might need that.
Put it at the same place every night.
Yes, it's always in the same place.
That way, just like everything else, if it's always in the same place, you know where to go when you're not thinking.
Right. What do you guys look for on fire suits?
I look for any rips, tears, fasteners. I mean, I've seen a lot of them. I got one too, where the zipper's ripped out.
Now, at your guys' track, you show up with a suit, zippers ripped out, you got holes the size of Texas in the knees. Are you letting them race?
You're not racing.
You're not racing. How about you guys at Eagle? What's the typical mentality at Eagle?
They're not supposed to race. You know, even gloves. But I've seen guys that are racing with gloves that have rips all the way down them. You know, you talk about gloves.
There we go.
I mentioned earlier that anything a driver throws out at me, you know, as a tow crew, we're going to keep. Well, I actually had a driver throw gloves to me. He came down to get them. I wouldn't give them back. You know why?
He threw them at you.
No, they're ripped up.
Oh, they were all ripped up.
I told him they weren't safe. You ain't getting them back.
What do you guys think of those shoes? I don't know if you can zoom in here, but look at that.
I'd
My
say-
question is that going to protect your foot in a fire?
Nope.
I'd say it's time for new shoes.
Yep, that was one of the very first things. I wanted to showcase this. I mean, you can put your finger, and I've seen a lot of drivers do this. I've seen or heard the excuse, well, they're broke in, they're comfortable. Yep. Great. Well, I would much rather have a tight pair of shoes that I need to break in versus not having a foot because I had to amputate it because I did this and my feet burned up. Generators. This is one thing I want you guys to talk about. We've had generators now. I would think anybody has got to understand this. Of course, the fuel goes right up inside here. There was an instance at a track, 2014, a generator was running, so the pit crew thought they'd be cutesy. They took their fuel while the generator was running, filled it up, it overfilled, hit the exhaust, and it ignited. Well, they did this inside the trailer, and one of the guys, he didn't pass away, thank God, but he was severely burned. Over, I think, 60% of his body. Stayed in the hospital for a few months at a time. Would you guys rather see him be outside?
Outside, in front of the trailer.
First off, you shouldn't run a generator in an enclosed space. So right there, it ought to be outside. Anytime you fuel, make sure it's cooled off. Don't fuel it when it's hot. And I know this is easier said than done. And never fuel it inside.
On gas cans, here's a good one. Try one for no cap on them. If it's full of fuel, you're driving around, it's going to spill. It don't take much to walk in your camper. You got nice little lights on. Take one spark, and the whole thing's up and flash. Shut-offs and caps.
But you as a driver, what happens if fuel gets tainted and you actually finish top 4 to get teched?
A lot of times you're going to get sniffed.
That's right. And if something dropped down in it, I like these, and it makes sense for ease of fuel. But what happens if that gets rubbed on the wrong stuff and it's now in your tank?
You're going to get DQ'd because it doesn't stick out properly. It doesn't
That's
pass
right.
tech.
That's right. So yeah, make sure you got shutoffs, and if it were me, I like it for ease of fuel and chance of not spilling, but you're taking a risk.
So we're back in the studio. Jack, give me your thoughts on being in that simulator.
Well, to be honest, it was a real eye-opening experience. It was a controlled environment, as you saw in the video, but it really made your mind think about your own stuff. Now, obviously, it wasn't my seat, it wasn't my belts, it was my helmet, my suit, all that kind of stuff. But so the seat wasn't quite as tight as mine would be, or the belts. But I did go home and check my stuff right after we did that.
I was wondering if you did that.
Because, making sure everything's tight. They've changed the rules of where seat belts are placed and all that stuff. So obviously you need to check with your IMCA or NASCAR rules or whatever sanctioning body you use to make sure that those are mounted right. So that, because there has been accidents in the past where rear ends of cars have been tore off and the seat belts are connected to the part of the car that's tore off and drivers are getting hurt or killed. And so really think about that. Loose stuff in your cockpit, that was obviously a big one because we turned that thing upside down and I was getting showered with dirt and bolts and everything else. So
I noticed when they were rolling you over, like one of the A-pillars came loose, there was nuts and bolts falling out of the car, and I was like, well, this couldn't get more realistic. I mean,
yeah, it was pretty intense. And then also the other big thing was the spacing between your body and the seat. When you went upside down, there was just so much more room than you think. Those belts would hold you in there tighter than that, but they don't. They must stretch, or you just feel comfortable where your body's slouched a little bit or whatever. But it was good, and it made me look at things like my neck ring, where my head would tilt back and forth, how far, if I was to have a head-on impact, something like that, how far does my head snap forward? Now, obviously, you made a step further this last week when we went out and we were shooting some things. We went over to Speedway Motors, and Bud decided to get him some new safety equipment. So why don't you elaborate on that?
Yeah, when I was watching Jack in the rollover simulator, I was, even when you were rolling over side to side, I could see your head going this way. And believe it or not, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you were rolling, there was some forward lateral movement there.
Oh, yeah.
And that got me to thinking, I don't have the strongest neck, and I've only got 6 brain cells left in my head. So I want to protect, you know, my brain cells are an endangered species right now. So with that being said, when I went down to Speedway, I did buy a new Simpson helmet, and I did invest in a good Hans device. And right away I've noticed, just sitting at home, sitting on the couch playing my NASCAR 2014 on Xbox, it really helped this way. You know, and the movement side to side was really good. You know, so we're pretty excited about that. I'm a little nervous about how it's going to feel when I get in the car for the first time, which some people say, you know, you ain't going to notice it. Some people are like, oh no, you'll notice it, but you'll get used to it really quick.
Have you practiced getting in and out of the car with your helmet and Hans on? Because that's one thing that has happened in the past
Yes.
with us is, you know, most guys get into their car with their helmet off, then they put their helmet on once they get into the car. And if you ever get in a rollover situation, that was one thing I found out, was trying to get out with your helmet on is a whole different deal.
Yeah, it's not easy.
That hole got small real quick. You know, I got a big head to begin with, and you throw a helmet on that, and it's like really tight space.
The one thing I want to give Speedway Motors, how much do you really know about a Hans? Because I didn't know much about it. All I knew a Hans came over this way, you've got a big paddle behind your head. You know, and so I knew there was different style of clips and tethers and stuff like that. Well, when we went to Speedway, Eric McMillan and Kyle Dumpert, both racers, set me up. Eric McMillan installed the Hans, and he went through, you were sitting there,
yeah.
He went through and educated me on the tethers and whatnot. So on my Hans, I have what I would consider a quick clip, and you just take the tethers, you pull down, that's all there is to it. 2 fingers pull down, it releases the helmet from the Hans, and then I can get out of the car. When I sat in my Prowler, the car that we run at ID Speedway, it took me, I'm gonna guess, I mean, it was pretty fast, about 5 seconds to get out of the car. And that was seatbelt strapped, Hans, helmet and everything, pull the tethers, boom, you pull the latch on the belt, boom, and you're out in 5 seconds.
Well, and just being a spectator in that was, I learned from it too, and one thing I found out is they fit you for all this stuff. I mean,
yes.
It is not just you buy one off the rack. You've got to be fitted for those Hans devices because, you know, people with different collarbones and things like that, and you were one of them, you're kind of in between 2 sizes, but they can adjust that Hans with angles and everything to make it fit correctly. And the other thing was the 3-inch wide belts to hold that down. I always kind of wondered how a Hans worked. Your seat belts work with that Hans device to make it work. So if your belts aren't correct, you know, and you go buy a Hans, you're kind of defeating the purpose. So always go by what they say is for their recommendations.
Whatever you do, when you buy a Hans, one thing I took from Speedway, we'll go to these trade shows, and it doesn't matter if it's Carl's Performance, Jet Racing, Speedway, Saracen, whatever. A lot of these people will sell the Hans devices, and there's a lot of different styles. The one thing I found out very quickly is they make different Hans for different seat laybacks, different cars, and there's obviously different sizes like you talked about, which I forgot. You know, I was kind of in an in-between range where I could go with a medium or a large, and Eric went over that. So when you buy a Hans or a head and neck restraint device, whatever the device is, make sure you get properly fitted, because sometimes you could save money and go with the smaller device or maybe something a little cheaper, but it may not be for what you're doing, and that could actually, you know, cause you more harm than good. So it is really imperative that you get educated, you have somebody size you up, you don't just do the shock and awe thing like, ooh, I have an $800 Hans, stick it on your neck and go with it. It could actually end up making things worse for you. What'd you think of the trailer safety? I love it. You know, and this is great because when I opened up the door on my new trailer and I rolled the car out, I was thinking to myself, oh, they're gonna eat me alive.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of back in my military days when you had inspection and all of a sudden you realize how bad you've screwed up before they even start. You're like, oh crap, I left that laying there. Oh crap, I left that laying there. And to say the least, you got tore down pretty good. And the boys spared you no sympathy. So
now we did the rollover and the trailer safety before we went to Speedway, and the Hans and the helmet issue was kind of a precursor and kind of kicked me in the pants a little bit to be looking at stuff like that at Speedway's open house back on the 7th. But the one thing I've noticed is you go to the tracks and you see the rollovers and you see the spills and you see the guys getting into the walls, but how many times have you seen guys get injured in the pits? You look at the people laying underneath a car with a jack stand, and when they got the jack stand, they don't have the pads underneath the legs, it's just the legs and it's sinking in the dirt. We had an issue where my own car fell on Fred Lauer, my crew chief. Thank God it didn't kill him because it was the right rear and it fell square on his chest. We lifted the car up, he got out from underneath. He squirmed for about 15 minutes and then we went back to working on the car, but he was pretty sore the next day. We've seen, you know, when my dad was alive, I'd seen my dad cut his arm up and down working on the car, you know, on a hot exhaust. So we got a first aid kit now. I don't see a lot of fire extinguishers in people's trailers.
I don't have a fire extinguisher in mine, and now
No.
I do.
Well, if you think about it, on these modifieds, we got the headers. They're extremely hot after the race. You got a fuel pump that's leaking fuel. Fuel pump leaking fuel, it gets somewhere near a hot header
exhaust
and an ignition device.
And you got a flame up, and there's a pit fire.
Yeah, you got a bad pit fire. And, you know, it's not like when we go to the track, we got a 10-acre spread to pit. I mean, we're talking 3 foot from one car
Right,
to one
and
car.
it's not like, you know, like at Eagle, where I race at, I reserve a concrete pit stall, which helps things dramatically, but most places don't have concrete pit
No.
stalls. I mean, they've got gravel pit stalls, and they are not level, you know, so, you know, jack stands and things like that are huge. I mean, I can honestly say that, you know, we've had our bumps and bruises in the pits too, including my wife, who thought she would help out one day, and she was going to help roll the car out of the pit stall because we were kind of stuck in a rut, and then I popped it into gear and she went over the front tire and hit her arm on the header. You know, I killed the car instantly. She's not allowed near the car anymore. You know, to me, one of the smartest things you can do is have somebody designated on your crew that's specifically there to watch out for others and safety, because in the heat of the moment, you know as well as I do, you've come back from a heat race, you know, you tagged the wall, somebody got into you, and the first thing your crew does is they jump on the car as soon as you're out, and they ask you, they ask you, how was it? And of course, usually if it's wadded up, you're gonna tell them it wasn't very good, and they're gonna go jump in and start fixing it. Now, some guys got, 2, 3 guys in a crew, some have 10, if you can, have a pit meeting, with your own crew and say, okay, your job is to just watch out for everybody else. Don't jump in the fray. Make sure jack stands get under the car. We've all jacked the car up on the jack real quick to change a shock and not thrown a jack stand underneath there.
Make sure the fuel caps are put on tight.
Fuel caps and things like that. As you see in the
I've
video,
a few times.
You actually have a chain on your cap. I don't have one on mine, but it's one of those yet things. It's all those things, and not to knock the officials at tracks, but there's so many cars at these tracks that they can't check everything. They usually pick one thing to really highlight on each week, and by the end of the first 6 weeks, they've pretty much gone through your car, whether it's belts, helmets, make sure the stickers are there, fuel caps, hoses, and they do a really good job for the amount of people that they have, and they're protecting us. So we have to acknowledge those officials at the tracks, because that's what they do. But we got to have guys on our own crew that are kind of just watching out for us too.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to talk, we're going to show some of our sponsors that help pay for the show. And when we come back, we're going to talk to one of the hottest up-and-coming sprint car drivers in the Midwest. That's right, the 03 driver of the Army sprint car, Shaylee Bate. Welcome back to Slinging Dirt TV. We got JP3, Jack Prawl, or as I call him, you're Mr. Behind Me on the track.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. I'll take you 4 wide.
Sure.
I tell you what, one of the first interviews we've got here on Slinging Dirt TV is one of the hottest up-and-coming sprint car drivers. She races the Race Saver Series out of Eagle, Nebraska. She talks about, in our interview, she's going to be going to Des Moines this year. She's going to be running, 4 or 5 different tracks, I think. Shaylee Bay, driver of the 03 Army Sprint Car. Before we go into the interview, Jack, you and I were talking here on Slinging Dirt TV. We didn't necessarily want to interview all the drivers right at the track level because, let's face it, Beatrice Spring Nationals is coming up. And then we fast forward to July and it's 110 outside. You're
right.
Sweaty, you're nasty, you had a rough night. It could be the worst possible situation to do an interview. So we thought we're going to call these segments We Knock, You Talk. And basically it is what it is. We knock on your garage door, and then we come in. We're just going to sit in the driver's surroundings. We want to get to see the real Shaylee Bay, the real Chris Abelson, the real Jesse Sobbing, the real Jack Dover. We don't, and it's not that they're not them at the track, but they're a lot more relaxed in their environment, stuff like that. So if you have a driver or a promoter or something like that, go ahead and email me at buddyj@joeskarting.com and we'll be more than happy to look up that driver. We can do phone interviews. Ideally, we would like to interview him in the shop. I do know we have Chris Abelson coming up in the next few weeks. We have Jack Dover coming up in the next few weeks, both at their shops. That'll be a really fun time. So
yeah, and you never know. We might just stop by unannounced and knock on your shop door because we know you're there and because we know you. And we want to get interviews from drivers of all classes. We want to,
yes.
That's one thing that we want to do with the show is we're not trying to specialize in one track and we're not going to do track results. We're specializing in the drivers and the fans and how we interact with each other and just share the whole racing experience. So, you never know. We may knock on your shop door and just because you're a little lowly sport compact driver doesn't mean anything. You're just as important as the rest of them.
Well, yeah, without the drivers at the track, we don't have a track. Without the track, we don't have a sport. If we don't have a sport, well then all this is for nothing. I just went blank.
Yeah, that's those 6 brain cells at work.
I'm down to 4.5.
All right, well, let's go. Go ahead.
The results, that's it. So with the results, we're not going to showcase a lot of races. If you're coming to the Slinging Dirt TV to watch A features, heat races in their entirety, ain't going to happen. I don't ever see that happening. I think we both agree we don't ever see that happening. If you want results, go to the track. The drivers and the tracks work together to bring you an awesome form of sports entertainment. We are sport entertainers. Well, we ain't, but everybody else at the track are. We're just there for clown resourcefulness.
Humor relief.
Humor relief. That's it. Humor relief. So go to the tracks, watch the races if you want to see results. We just want to showcase all drivers, and you didn't say, or you couldn't have said it any better. We don't want to favor one track, one driver, one series, one class. We want to spread the love around. So once again, if you got a driver or somebody you want us to interview, by all means get a hold of us. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not too hard to find on Facebook either. So I know Jack.
You're an attention whore. We all know that.
An attention whore, really? What am I, like Anna Nicole Smith now or something? Well,
with a scraggly beard from Counciltucky, yes, you are.
Well, outside of that, yeah, I match up perfectly. So with further ado, let's go and let's talk to Shaylee Bay, driver of the 03 Army Sprint Car. For all the viewers out there, we got Jack Prawl III, B-Mod racer from I-80 Speedway. We got the infamous Shaylee Bay, the 03 Army Sprint Car driver from Eagle Raceway. Her crew guy, Dick, and of course everybody knows who I am, Buddy Ray. So if you viewers out there have a driver that you'd like to see, email me at buddyj@joeskarting.com. We're actually getting ready to open up our own email for Slinging Dirt TV. So with further ado, Shaylee, how's it going?
It's going good.
So, Jack and I were talking, we were coming down here. Last year, you had to win Beatrice. You had a really good run at Eagle Raceway. I don't think the year started off quite as well as what you anticipated, but at the end of the year, it got a lot better.
Yes.
How do you build on that success going into 2015?
Well, you basically build from it. I mean, at the very beginning of the year, we're still new to the whole sprint car series. We've done the mini sprints, so that's a lot more familiar with us, and getting into these, you can't take information that you know from the micro sprints to the sprint car. They're just not compatible, and we found that out the hard way.
So it's like doing the video game versus driving the real car.
Exactly.
You know, everybody thinks they're a race car driver because they can do it on video, but once you get in the real thing,
it's totally different. Yes, I mean, you can't adjust your shocks, the bars, anything the same as you would doing a regular size sprint car. So that was a really big learning curve for us. And the beginning of the season, we really struggled with it because my dad thought all that information he knew so well and how to set up those cars so well. He wanted to take this and try to imply that to the 305s, and it was just not working. And what really kind of set us back is we had 105 people come up and tell us, this is what you should be doing. You should be running this stuff. You should change your shock to this. Well, that doesn't work for that driver. So you have to find out what works for your driver and your driving styles. And towards the end of the year is when we really started figuring it out and figuring out
once you
the
started
car
listening
itself.
to yourself.
Yes, we
good
started
feedback between what the driver feels and what the crew chief's giving you and
Exactly.
what your dad's seeing, because I know that both of us have been through that same situation, and Buddy's helped me a lot with my car, and we went through the same thing. We've had some top of the line drivers saying, well, do this, and we do it, and we just
go backwards, and it just wouldn't work
it's
for
frustrating.
you. But as soon as you figure out that little thing that works for you, you just take little baby steps, and it just keeps getting better and better. And now we're to the point where we feel like our team is developed. We know what we need to do to the car. We all know our duties, and so that is going to help us tremendously for the 2015 season.
Everybody knows their duties, and that helps you for the 2015 season. But just how really important is that? Because I know on my team, you've seen some of my former crew members. We act like a well-oiled unit, as I'm trying to say. But with that being said, when we're in the trailer and they're getting a car done, and I don't really have to talk to them, how important is it to have that good crew behind you?
Your crew is everything. I mean, without a good crew, you don't have a good race car. If your crew's not good and on top of it and making sure everything's tight, fuel's in it, you're not gonna go anywhere on that track. So if everybody outside that race car, everybody's on the same page, your car is going to be good. And the car is the main point. I mean, this thing needs to be maintenanced every weekend. It has to be tore down. It has to, everything get looked over. And what's nice is all the books that we write everything down in, and we can go back and watch all the videos to see what really did help and what did not help.
And how many crew members do you have?
Well, from our first year to this year, our first year, everybody said that we were over our heads and this was going to be very hard for all of us coming from mini sprints. So we had like a good 12, 13 people the first year. And after we got to the track, we realized we did more sitting than we did working on the car, because you race your heat race and then you wait 4 hours. Well, in that 4 hours, what is 13 people gonna do? This year we limited down, we figured out what we really did need and who we needed, and so we only have maybe 6 of us this year.
This year in 2015, where all do you plan on racing?
We will be running our weekly Eagle Raceway, and also since the Race Savers are still so new, more tracks are now opening their eyes to the Race Savers when before nobody knew exactly what they were. So now we get to travel to 3 more tracks. We get to go to Beatrice, Columbus, and Rising City. And then we will also go back to, where'd we go in Iowa?
Des Moines.
Yep, State Fair in Des Moines. So we'll also go there again.
So with everything that's building up for 2015, what's the biggest thing that you've changed in your operation from 14 going into 15?
I guess the biggest thing is going to be the obvious, which is going to be the car. This is going to be our brand new Triple X. Everything on the car is going to be...
So now the crowd's gonna be doing this up in the stand.
Yes.
So when you're seeing Eagle on the high banks and she's passing cars, start doing this.
That's
Triple
right.
X. It's right there. Triple X. So tell, this is, now you say this is brand new. Is this a 14 or a 15 model?
This is a 15.
15.
I mean, everything on this car is brand new. Nothing has touched dirt yet.
So I know everybody's got a name for their car. Do you have a name for this car?
We do, and this is actually going to be one of our special cars. This will be what I would call a limited edition. She will be called Black Betty this year. And then due to a incident that happened around Thanksgiving, I had a friend murdered by her husband due to domestic violence. And so this year we are going to have a picture of her, not saying where or anything, but she will be the angel on our car this year supporting Kelsey Miller. And we will also have little ribbons of purple ribbons, and they will represent domestic violence. And all of the proceeds that are bought from the stickers, they will go directly to the children. They left behind 3 children, 14, 4, and 1.5, and obviously they are left with nothing, and throughout life they lost the 2 most important people of their life. And so this is going to help them with buying a car, college, anything that they will ever need. This will be the bank fund.
And is there a way people, when they see this show, can they contact you or send you money in any way to further this along?
If you want to help Kelsey Miller and her children, the best way to do it is you can go to any U.S. bank around the United States and tell them you want to donate to the Kelsey Miller Foundation, and that bank account is only for the 3 children to do anything that they need it for. So that would be the best way that anybody who wants to donate any money or anything to go to U.S. Bank, because that is the safest way to do it.
Great.
So Black Betty here, when's the first chance that people might be able to get a glimpse of her?
Just wondering that.
The first time we will actually have it shown is going to be at the World of Wheels in March. It'll be the very end of March.
But I noticed some trinkets on the floor. What you got laying down there?
I also do on the off time, not racing season, well, still in racing season, but in my off time, I do hydro dipping, which hydro dipping is you can take any object that can get submerged underwater and you can make it take a special kind of film. I mean, there's thousands of different kinds of film you can choose from carbon fiber to zebra to camo. This is my steering wheel from last year, which is a yellow base coat, so you can change the yellow to any color you want. It can be pink, purple, blue, green, yellow, orange.
You had a lot of buzz at the World Wheels last year about that wheel.
Yes, and you know, a lot of people, hydro dipping is pretty new. A lot of people don't know exactly what it is or how it works or anything like that. So if you want to know more about hydro dipping, Google, go onto YouTube, watch some videos, see what they have done to give you some ideas of what you can do around your house or your car, your shop, or your personal vehicle.
Well, Shaylee, it's been a good time. I tell you what, folks want to follow you, and especially with the Kelsey Miller Foundation, how can they follow you? And once again, how can they get involved with the Kelsey Miller Foundation?
You can follow me. I have a Facebook page, Shaylee Bade Racing would be my racing page. I also have Instagram and Twitter, which would be ShayleeBade03, trying to keep it simple. And if you want to follow up on the Kelsey Miller case, I post a lot of it on my racing page, and to keep everybody updated on if they're doing any fundraisers that you could contribute to or anything like that. So the racing page would definitely be the best way. Also, my website will have stuff for them. And for the ribbons that you can buy, we'll have 6-inch and 3-inch sticker ribbons, and you can purchase them off of my website for $5 and $3, and then all those proceeds go to the children for their lifetime bank fund.
Well, Shaylee, I appreciate you for your time. Dick, it's been nice meeting you.
You too.
Jack, keep dreaming. You're never going to be one of these things. Everybody.
I've already been told I can't have one, so.
So back to the studio. And once again, if you have a driver that you want to see us interview here on Slinging Dirt TV, once again, just email me at buddyj@joeskarting.com. Well, back to the studio. I tell you what'd you think of Shaylee in her interview?
She is such an interesting girl, you know, and she's such a good driver and good just family values, the way her dad and her interact. It reminds me of how my dad was, you know, the whole doing the valve cover thing.
I was going to say, just don't mess with the valve covers.
You know, it's not that he didn't like it, it was the fact that she didn't ask first, you know, the same thing we used to get from
Yeah.
our dads, and I do to my son, and my son will do to his son, you know. Things like that are very cool, and then Smoky Bacon wandering around the shop, you know, that was kind of cool too.
You know, sometimes, you know, I've interviewed a lot of drivers on the front stretch when I was over there, and when a driver got a little bit of a taste of success or a taste of accomplishment, and not to be negatory towards somebody, but sometimes their nose could be turned up in the air a little bit, where they would kind of walk around, you know, like, hey, look at me, and you know, Shaylee, you just watch her on the tire there, and she's just like, woo-dee-doo-dee-doo, this is what we do, you know, and this is Black Betty, and here's my 60-pound pig, you know, Smokey, which, by the way, I remember Smokey coming to the World Wheels last year.
Right, she did.
Smokey is about this big, about this tall. Now she's about this tall.
60 pounds, yeah.
Yeah.
You know. I'm not gonna say what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Bacon.
I was like,
Shaylee might not like that. So.
no. Well, she can stick the pig on you. I mean,
Yeah, that pig will bite your shoelaces.
yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So speaking of which, as we're sitting there, I'm talking to Shaylee after the interview, and Smokey's coming up, and Smokey is literally nibbling at and trying to chew the shoelaces off my Nikes. That was a little interesting. I tell you what, though, you look at their shop. Here's what. That's for someone that's ever been in Bade's shop, and for everything that Bade is visually, aesthetically, off the track. And I'm not talking about Bade herself, but the whole Shaylee Bade racing operation.
Team.
I would have figured we'd be talking, you know, in a 60 wide, 40 foot long race shop.
I had the same impression
Yes.
too. You know, you see that's the crazy thing about racing. You know, you go out there and you see, you know, drivers that are high profile. They go up with these big haulers, and you know they've got multiple cars and crews and great driver suits. And then you go visit them, and they're in a little rented shop that's, you know, 20 foot long and 15 foot wide.
Don't get me wrong, her shop is nice. I mean, I'd like to have her shop.
It's heated. I like that.
Yeah, it's heated. I like that. It's got quite a bit of room. I was just envisioning something like a miniature Hendrix organization.
Right.
You know, and that's one of the nice things on the We Knock, You Talk segment is we get to take you into their shops, their surroundings. So when you, like you said, when you see these great big toters and haulers, that doesn't necessarily mean they got that 60 by 80 shop. You know, they make do with what they got, you know, so I found that really almost inviting, actually.
Well,
because
yeah.
I could relate to a shop like that.
Absolutely, it's no different than your shop or my shop, except
It's nicer than your shop is nicer than my shop.
Well,
I have a 2-car garage. You have like Prawl Industries. I mean,
No.
You're like the redneck Tony Stark.
I got a 30 by 40 pole barn with a wood stove in it. Come on, don't give me
Well,
that.
you have heat then now, don't you?
Enough to warm your hands.
I have a missile or a bullet heater, 175,000 BTU for a 20 by 20 shop, and trust me, I ain't feeling no pain after that thing runs for about 10 minutes because of the exhaust fumes in it.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show you that these drivers, they can come from any background,
Absolutely.
any shape, any form. You know, some of us have the rickety old open trailers, some of us have enclosed trailers. Doesn't matter, you know, when it comes down to, just like Bait Industries, when they get on the track, they try to improve. They use the information they gather from other drivers and from themselves and what they learn, and they put it to use, they improve, and you get that first win. You know, you remember your first win. I remember my first win.
You won?
Yeah, I won.
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was in the Sport Compact, right?
Yeah.
Were those race cars back then?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, I didn't know if there was race cars.
Well,
just
they're
street cars with the duct tape.
Well,
number
they're
on them.
cars you race.
Oh, okay.
But I've moved up since then.
They're cars that you race, but they may not be considered race cars.
Right, okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Just one. I tell you what, the other thing about Shaylee is that hydro dipping that she does.
Oh, isn't that cool?
That I actually looked up hydro dipping. You know, you see these $2,000 paint jobs on some of these big name drivers, the actual paint jobs on the helmets, and then we have the all too familiar wrap jobs on the helmets. Well, let's get real here. In dirt track racing, the drivers are always throwing their helmets, which is not recommended. But drivers, oh, shut it. So the drivers are throwing helmets, the helmets are falling out onto the rocks, they're getting dinged around in the roll bars, you know, in the halo or whatever, and so they get a lot of scratches, scuffs, and stuff like that. So the one thing Shaylee didn't go into, but I wanted to research a little bit more, was how tough is hydro dipping? How tough do you think hydro dipping is?
I've researched it too because I had thinking about doing that myself because it was so freaking cool. You know, and you can do anything with just about any shape but you only get one try when you go to do that dipping. You know, once you mess it up, you're messed up. But you know, it's critical. But there's so many shapes and sizes and cool things you can do with it, and it just screams race car.
Oh yeah. Well, when I researched the durability of hydro dipping, and I talked about this with Shaylee a little bit via text message, there was a mask. I don't know what kind of mask it was. It just looked like a generic mask. But they hydro dipped this mask, and they took a welder's stiff brush, like off of a welding cart. It was brand new, so you knew it was really stiff. And this guy went to town with this brush on top of this mask. And at first, you're like, ooh, man, I ain't gonna take scratches very well. Well, the guy just took a cloth, didn't prep the surface or anything, just took a terry cloth, it looked like, just like on this table, and he was wiping the mask off. Couldn't even tell the bristles hit it. He then took a hammer and he was beating just the living tar out of this mask. I mean, he's just hitting that mask, something else. No scratches, no no chips, no dents, nothing.
Yeah, this stuff is very durable. My helmet is hydro dipped, and my son had it done for my birthday, and I mean, I've got roll bar dings in it from climbing in and out of the car and things like that. The stuff doesn't scratch. There's paint on the stuff, and you can wipe it right off. It's amazing stuff. But
yours is hydro dip?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Yep. I thought yours is just wrapped.
Nope, it's a hydro dip.
And you got what, one full season per year on your helmet?
Yep, one season.
One season, and I noticed on your hydro dipping, and I noticed this with Shaylee stuff, especially that snowy camo steering wheel.
I'm getting that.
Yeah. You're fighting people for that one. Is that the hydro dip has got a really nice shine, kind of like a lacquer polyurethane type.
Right.
Look. I mean, it's
they
well
clear coated. Right.
Yeah, it's very shiny. I sent Shaylee a picture of a chrome helmet. It was a Simpson Diamondback, like my new helmet, and it was just pure chrome, and it looked really cool. And she's like, I don't know if we can do quite that yet. So then I went to looking at a website that she had told us about. And I went into the sports side, and there was the Oregon State 2012 Rose Bowl. The Oregon State, Oregon's the Ducks? The Oregon Ducks.
Right.
So we're looking at that helmet, and it's chrome. You know, on the Diamondback helmet, the mouthpiece comes down at an angle. Well, the Oregon Ducks, they have feathers on the side of their helmet that go back this way. So the whole helmet is chrome with a chrome inlay of the feathers going up the helmet. And I was like, can you dip that on my helmet? She's like, yeah, I think we can do that. So I think I'm going to be going with the Oregon Ducks, you know, inlay. And she could change the colors of that stuff.
Right.
That's, you know, she said it best. You can do an endless array of whatever you want for a dip. But really, for what it costs for a dip, you're better doing that versus paying $2,000 for a paint job that can get scratched and marred. You're better paying for a dip than you are a wrap in some ways because of the durability of the hydro dip. But you know, I give it 10 years. I see a lot of her work out there on race cars, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. We'll do that further down the road here on Slinging Dirt TV, but she's working on something else new that I kind of turned her on to. Yeah,
well, she's got lots of little secrets that they are probably going to reveal at the World of Wheels Car Show, and the World of Wheels Car Show is where and when this year?
It's February 27th and 28th and March 1st at the CenturyLink Center.
Right.
CenturyLink Center.
CenturyLink Center in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yep. And what'd you think of Black Betty? I liked Black Betty. I thought Black Betty was nice.
Yeah, it's a good start. There wasn't a whole lot there to see.
But
her crew chief Dick and her dad were pretty much already gagged us and blindfolded us before we got in there. So, you
Absolutely.
know. So, anyways, follow Shaylee. She's a good hard racer. She's traveling multiple tracks this year, and we'll see her at the World of Wheels Car Show, where we'll be too with our cars. And
well, I'll be there with my race cars. You'll be there with your cars.
Here we go again. So, anyways, let's wrap this up and maybe see some of our sponsors. What do you think?
Yep, sounds good to me. Welcome back to Slinging Dirt TV. It's Jack Prawl III, or JP3 as we're probably going to start calling him, because I'm too lazy to say that entire long Jack Prawl III, so just JP3.
I'm good with that.
You're good with that. Of course, me, Buddy Ray. One of the other features that we're going to be doing here, actually we're going to be doing several features.
Yes.
We're going to be doing several features. Before I introduce the next big feature, who's actually one of our sponsors, some of the things that we're going to do here, from time to time, we're going to be doing a Joe's cam, and it's going to be a street style cam, where I'm going to have a part. You don't know when I'm going to do this. You don't know who I'm going to do this with. This is sounding bad already. But with that being said, I'm going to have a race car part. I'm going to walk up to you, and I'm going to ask you what this part is. You're going to get 3 chances to guess.
Right. Yeah. 3 chances. Nothing to spare.
Nothing to spare. 3 chances. If you get on the first try, you get 3 races to Joe's karting. If you get on the second try, you'll get 2 free races to Joe's. If you get it on the last try, you'll get 1 free race to Joe's. If you don't guess it correctly at all, you're SOL. It's just the way it is. And sometimes, according to the guy that we're getting ready to introduce, sometimes in life there's winners and losers.
Yeah.
There's no in
between.
There's no participant sticker.
No gray area.
Yeah, no gray area. You're either a winner or a loser. Somebody won the race, 23 of us lost the race. That's the way it is. You don't get a participant ribbon for participating in a race.
Yeah, we're not about that.
Man, if I did that, I'd have to put an addition onto my house for all my ribbons. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So we're doing the Joe Street Cam. Term of the day. We're going to be doing the term of the day, and we might even do one today here a little bit later on.
I think we should.
I think we should, yeah. So we're going to be doing a term of the day. That's where we're going to give you a term. It's just going to be a multiple guest play along for bragging rights only, because we are too cheap to pay you anything. So, but we want you to sponsor the show. So once again, Buddy J at joeskarting.com, where you can watch the Slinging Dirt TV for the low price of free on YouTube.
That's right.
So
can't get any freer than that.
No. So with that being said, the one of our sponsors, James Songer of Supreme Lawn and Landscaping. You've seen him, you loved him, some of you hated him.
Yeah, he's kind of all over.
He's all over there. He's kind of like a sport compact race at Eagle Raceway. You never know what direction he's going to go, but you know there's going to be carnage.
Yeah, it's true. He's going to take somebody out.
He's going to take somebody out, but he's liable to give you props too. The segment he's going to do, and it's every week, is Songer Says. I will tell you, there is a disclaimer. What he says may or may not be necessarily the views of the Slinging Dirt TV. So,
and he may or may not offend you.
He may or may not offend you. Viewer discretion is advised.
So if he does offend you, talk to Jamie.
Yep. If you're under the age of 75, you might want to put the earplugs in, because there might be some heavy language. Not too bad. So, but regardless, he does have some good topics to talk about. So with that being said, let's go in to the first Songer Says.
Alright, so I've been asked to do this Songer Says for the podcast, and we're trying out this new GoPro Hero 4 because I can't get anything downloaded on my phone to go to send to Buddy Ray. But the subject we're going to discuss is pre-season registration. Now I know everybody knows, for the most part, the tracks are going to run starting in 2015. You know, unless you happen to just show up for a night or two or whatever. But, I mean, we all know where we're going to run. And all of them have these websites that say you can go in and pre-register. So I don't get why you people don't do that. Because if there's one thing I can't stand, it's going the first night to a track and getting home at 4 a.m. because a bunch of jackasses had to register that night. I know you ain't got money this time of year, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? I've discovered in the racing industry that the biggest form of income and the biggest income season is income tax season. So instead of buying a fifth of whiskey or, you know, some vodka or some beer, hey, spend that money, get your number and your registration bought, and then that way we don't have to stand in line forever. Because if there's one thing that pisses me off is going to the racetrack and there I sit, I gotta wait. You know, and I can't get undone, and I hate long lines. I don't go to Disney World because lines suck. They suck, I tell you. So why do we all want to have a line the first night? Get out there, pay your registration, pay your fees, get registered at that track. so that we can all get home and spend a little time with our families. That's what we need. So I hope this helps out. It was the first one out the gate, a little short. The other thing is, I will say I've seen some pretty neat wraps out there. Looking forward to seeing all them out and about. Seen some new drivers, some I'm really looking forward to driving with, and some I'm just hoping don't quite make it to the track. But you know, some probably think that of me too, and that's all good and dandy. But remember, we're all in this for fun. We're all out there having fun. Ain't a damn one of us professionals. We're just a bunch of guys having fun. So keep that in mind. Stay that way, stay that calm mind. Use my 30-second rule if you're upset. Don't be blowing off the handle. You might end up becoming your friend, the Groots and Lundbergs. But anyway, folks, let's have a good start to the season. For those of you going to Abilene, I'm trying to make it there. I don't know if I will. Good luck to y'all. Hope it starts out great. Others, see you at Beatrice, Memphis, and Donaldson.
Welcome back to Slinging Dirt TV. Jack, I got a question to ask you. What were you thinking?
Well, that just depends.
That depends. When you're at Eagle Raceway in turn 3, and you drive under a car that's barrel rolling, looking like a scene out of the movie The Matrix gone dirt track racing.
Yeah.
What were you thinking in that particular instance?
Well, actually, lots of things go through your head. First is, oh crap, when you start seeing tires and bottoms of cars.
Or was it oh crap, or was it oh something else?
Well, you know.
You get your idea.
Needless to say, and then as a father, having your son right behind you, I'm thinking this car is going over my head and he's going to land right into his windshield. But of course, my son being my son, you know, checkers or wreckers on fire or whatever, he was next to me. So
I would be more scared to death.
But I couldn't see him.
I wouldn't be more concerned about the car coming through his windshield. He sees what's happening. He knows what's happening just at the same time you do. So at that point, I'm going, oh crap, is he going to move me out of the way to save his car?
Well, if you watch the video, you'll see.
There was a well.
You know, you'll see the video that if you watch my front tires, you can see that I've turned away. But the actual thing was, this is one of those funny things about racing. You know, after we went back and watched the actual clip from Eagle Raceway, you can hear the announcer go, "Ooh, it looked like he got a little help." But that was the clip that they're watching is the clip that our crew took, and you'll see that I never touched him. He just got in the corner too hot and barrel rolled it. But
That's what it looked like to me.
But if you watch my son's car, he's in the 45 car. I'm in the 44 car at this time. This clip was probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But you'll actually watch as that car flips through the air and goes over. It tears the tin off the top of his car. You can see it in slow motion, and when that tin went off, it actually gouged through his helmet.
Oh wow!
But I cannot see him. I know
he was okay though.
He was okay. Yeah, oh yeah. He went by, and you know, after it all goes around the next corner, he pulls up next to me. You know, he's 17, 18 years old at that time, and he's just like, "Look at me, Dad! Woohoo! Wasn't that fun?" And trust me, I was more scared for my kid than anything. Once he pulled up next to me, the adrenaline dump, you know, goes. But that was definitely one of the craziest things I've been part of in racing.
Well, the reason why I asked Jack here, what was he thinking, is also from time to time, that's going to be another one of our featured segments, is what was you thinking? And what we're going after. If you guys, any of you people out there that's got some age on you like Jack and I do, years ago there was a show called Mystery Science Theater. And basically we're going to want you viewers to send us video clips. We don't care what it is. Send us video clips, not still shots, but video. And we can put together some short segments, and we're going to do this mystery theater style. And, you know, well, what was you thinking? Or we could, you know, stuff like that. But that's, we want to know.
What were you thinking?
What were you thinking?
You know, and this is supposed to be fun, we're not bashing poor driving skills, because we all know we've made mistakes.
I suck.
You know, yeah, I know you do. I don't, but you do.
And you're the one that needed a new stub?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That was because the sprint car drivers driving them off the fight.
Oh, okay.
Not my fault.
It's always the other guys.
It's always the other guys in driving. You know that. You're good at that.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways, we're going to get back to having fun with this. So if you send in a clip, we're not going to harass anybody. We're going to try to, from our point of view, put ourselves in that car and try to guess what were you thinking.
It'll be fun. You know, what were you thinking, stuff like that. So send us, once again, send me video clips, as many as you can, at buddyj@joeskarting.com, BUDDY, letter J, at joeskarting.com, karting with a K. Another clip that we're going to do from time to time, we're going to do one right now. During break, we were talking term of the day. That's right.
That's right. And it, you know,
I have a term I'd like to start off with.
well, and we're going to explain to them first what terms are, because dirt track racing kind of has its own language. If you've been
Yes.
around it, if you're a fan, it's one thing.
If you're
If
sitting
you're
in
a
the stands,
driver,
you'll
it's
hear
another
this.
thing.
Yep.
But if you walk through the pits, you hear drivers spouting off all kinds of things, you know, wedge, you know, stagger,
Last time I
whatever.
heard anything about wedge, I was in high school and I was getting a wedgie.
Yeah,
I had to take years of
Understandable.
psychological treatment for that, but anyways.
All right, so what's your first word
Term of the day. We hear this in the stands quite a bit, and us drivers, we either hate them, well, we hate having them done to us, but, you know, we like doing them to other drivers, is slide job. So what do you think the term slide job means? Now this is a multiple guess, play along for bragging rights only, because once again, we're too cheap to pay you anything at this point. So option A, slide job is something you do with your date on a late Saturday night. Ain't happening in our household.
No, too old for that.
Yep. Option B, a slide job is when you go underneath a car going into the corner and you come out in front of it, coming off the next corner. Or C, the newest country line dance at your favorite redneck country western bar.
Well, you know, I'm gonna go with the slide job. My answer would be, you know, country western dance, maybe. No?
At my age, I wanted to be letter A with my wife, but you never know. You know, maybe we're wrong. It could be B, maybe. So,
All right. Well, I
but
think
you get the idea.
It's B. It's when you go into a corner on the inside of a guy and you come
Yep.
out and you slide past the nose of his car, and actually you're on the outside of him as you're going down the straightaway. So
We actually, you know, when Steve and I were talking about slide jobs, you are right, and it is B. A lot of drivers don't like slide jobs being done on them. I, at times, have had slide jobs done on me, and I'll actually walk up to the guy like, dude, from my
that was pretty awesome.
that was pretty cool. It's like,
Yeah, usually the next thing I tell them is, it's a good thing I lifted.
yeah, it's good.
You ever
thing
do
I-
that again, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So they don't do it to you
But I
twice.
have seen some really good slide jobs made. Now, predominantly in sprint cars,
Right.
is where you'll see a lot of slide jobs. Mike Boston, Shaley Bade, Matt Richards. The sprint car action out of Eagle Raceway. Now, first of all, around here where we're at in Omaha, Nebraska, Eagle Raceway is probably by far and away, I think everybody would agree, the home of sprint car racing.
It's a predominant sprint
Yes.
car track.
So therefore, now Butler County, also out in Rising City, I think once a month, it's either once or twice a month they do have sprint car races out there.
Right.
They're big time in sprint cars. You know, so those two tracks, but on a weekly basis, Eagle by far and away. You want to see some amazing slide jobs and some amazing talent. You go watch the sprint cars out at Eagle Raceway and you won't be disappointed. So, with that being said, Jack, what do you think?
Well, I think it's been a good show. I think we've got lots of content. Send us your ideas. You know, if you think there's something we need to do, or something you need to do different, or something you'd like to see, you know,
Yes.
contact Buddy Ray.
This is your guys' sport. This isn't our sport. We have a privilege to participate in the sport that you guys like to go to the tracks and watch. So it doesn't matter if you're in Adams County Speedway, Butler County Speedway, if you're out in Lexington, if you're up at the new Off-Road Motorsports Park in Norfolk, Harlan, Shelby County. I don't care what track it is. We just want to have fun talking about what you like. Once again, don't send in anything drama-filled, negative, because it'll just get deleted in the email.
Yeah,
So
keep that
if
to
you
dirt
want
drivers
to
on
have
Facebook.
fun, you know, we want to introduce this to fans. We want to introduce some of our area tracks to new drivers. We want to help put new drivers at the tracks. We want to help put fans in those stands at the local track. So, you know, work with us, help you, help us help the racing industry here locally, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you like what you see, share it with your friends on Facebook or YouTube. You know, share it and let other people know. Let the word out that there is a show out there that's strictly dirt track. It's a couple of goobers having a good time.
Yep.
and sharing the love that we have and the passion for the sport that we like. So with that, I think it's a wrap with the first episode of Slinging Dirt TV.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.